Oh, Mr. Orwell, what an optimist you were. But heavens, what's this? A note. Perchance it's from a lady admirer. Oh, it is not.
Good evening, Professor. What now? It has come to our attention that your attempts at creating an online platform and social media presence have failed.
Well, that seems subjective.
Our research has shown that successful platforms are accessible, friendly, optimistic, and relatable.
See, I'm not sure that's true.
You are none of these things, nor do you seem willing to make content at regular enough intervals so as to develop, let alone maintain, a following. Fortunately, we have decided to assist you in becoming more accessible and relatable, and above all else, more fun.
Oh.
If you make videos that are more personal in tone, more of the community will relate to you as a peer, as opposed to whatever the fuck it is you actually are.
Oh no.
Accompanying this note is our patented fun box. It only takes the smallest amount of effort to become a proper part of the community. Open the box, and open your heart, and you'll have a much more fun time. Good luck. The management.
Is this what social media is all about? Is this what you wanted? Good evening, my gruesome little people, and welcome back to What Now, where we are returning momentarily, because I realised all of a sudden that in the middle of making these very large-scale, very wide-in-scope video projects, that this channel had completely died. So I'd better pull something together in order to keep my hat in the ring, as it were, and fortunately for me, not so fortunately for you, I came across this series of videos that different author-tubers were doing, and I am technically an author-tuber of the My Wildest Publishing Dreams videos, and thought, hey, that's got to be worth a go. I mean, I have dreams, chiefly to do with ruined urban landscapes, land squids and chalk drawings that come to life and want my bone marrow, but dreams nonetheless. Vinny? Vinny? That's Vinny, you can hear. He stopped. We can continue. The basic principle of these videos, so far as I've been able to work out, is to imagine recklessly, just build those castles in the air, aim for the blue sky, aim for the moon, and then even if you miss, you will land amongst the stars of what you would want to happen with your publishing career in the future. I've got to admit that living in the world that I do, it is tremendously difficult to imagine any kind of future. It is remarkably difficult to get enthusiastic or optimistic about literally anything. Being an aspiring artist, or hell, I imagine even an established artist in this particular part of the 21st century, is rather like being a tremendously accomplished violinist, but unfortunately you're also Wallace Hartley, the bandmaster of the Titanic. But no. This thinking will not do. This is not how one builds a social media platform. One must be optimistic, one must be bright and happy, and everything's going to be okay, and all you need to get through as an artist in this world is to believe. Clap your hands if you believe. Clap your hands if you believe. clap your fuck. But sure, land squid notwithstanding, I have dreams, and yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound. I've got nothing better to do while I wait for the inevitable collapse of Western civilization and the realization of all of my most existential horrors. So yeah, these are my wildest publishing dreams. What now style? For those of you who don't know, which is probably most of you, I have finished and am currently shopping around with agents my first novel, a weird fiction mosaic novel entitled The Dead Meat Sextet. The people who have read it have rather enjoyed it. Some people have been kind enough to say they've not read anything like it before, which to the aspiring artist is a wonderful thing to hear. To the marketing department of any particular publisher is not something they want to hear, but nevertheless, I would very much like the whole traditional publishing thing. This would be my first of the wild publishing dreams. Specifically, I would like to be published by Pan. Pan Macmillan as is, but Pan is still the imprint. Because Pan, growing up, they were sort of at the back end of this when I was a child, before they were properly taken over by Macmillan. But here in Britain, the Pan paperback was a real, you knew where you stood with a Pan paperback. These are the people who published The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. These are the people that, back in the 19th century, published Alice in Wonderland. These were Lewis Carroll's publishers. So, being tied in with them, they do an awful lot of modern science fiction as well. They publish Adrian Tchaikovsky, and if you haven't been reading Adrian Tchaikovsky, start reading Adrian Tchaikovsky. But yeah, I would like to be published with them. That would be my first of the dreams. I've said this to a few people beforehand about wanting to be traditionally published, and they've rather mistakenly thought that meant I had anything against or was somehow turning my nose up at the idea of self-publishing or independent publishing, and this really is not the case at all. Chances are, because what I write is so remarkably out there, I personally don't think it is, but other people seem to think it is, and I've been told as much by a prominent London agent. What with it being so out there that I may end up self-publishing it anyway, just would be my first port of call. It's nothing to do with a perceived snobbery towards self-publishing. It's because I have a particular axe to grind when it comes to this. I have a very personal point to make that can only be made by being traditionally published with one of these houses, chiefly because not that you would know it from my voice, from my accent. Lord knows it's the bane of my bloody life. I'm northern working class trash. I am a single parent family from the depths of Liverpool. It's and here I still live. And when London publishers say they want northern voices, what they mean is they want poverty porn. They only want northern writers if they're writing about how bloody awful it is to be working class and in the north. And I take profound issue with that idea. I come from the same city as Clive Barker, for Christ's sake. Just because we're working class and from Merseyside doesn't mean that we don't dream remarkable things, you know? We do have imaginations, and I really think I would be proving a point to all of those around me. If I could get in there, it would be like infiltrating the enemy camp, so to speak. So, yeah, from a sort of Machiavellian sense, and here I am today, the man in black. Yes, traditional publishing to make a particular argument in class warfare. That would do me very nicely. So yes, to be traditionally published with Pan Macmillan, that would do me nicely. When it comes to things like adaptation, I am very interested in adaptation as a process in how it's done. I've adapted works myself. I've adapted stories, never for the screen, but I have adapted them for the stage and audio projects. So I'm very interested in the transmutation of the shape of a story from one form to another, and seeing what you can do with one that you couldn't do with the other. Of course, prose fiction is probably the only medium in which you can do it all on a budget of about £5 if you're buying very nice pens. But when it comes to the idea of a cinematic adaptation, I'm not 100% certain. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of directors who, if they said they wanted to adapt the Dead Meat Sextet, I'd say, just take my baby and do as you will. Terry Gilliam or Julie Taymor leap immediately to mind. But there is this sort of idea that writing prose fiction is really just a means to getting a film deal, and the sausage machine just cranks around over and over and over again. I mean, strictly speaking, since this is the Wildest dreams, I don't think I would want it to be adapted as a live action film. I think I would much prefer for it to be adapted as a traditionally animated film. I'd want it drawn, painted, strictly speaking, because of the 6 different strands. I'd want 6 different artistic styles to go into them. Yeah, that's what I'd want. I'd want a traditionally animated film, preferably directed by Mark King, who, if you directed every episode of The Mighty Boosh and the 2 Paddington films and Bunny and the Bull, he's got a very storybook style of filming, which I think if you merge that with some, say, I don't know, fucking Don Bluth style animation, and I think that would do the sextet interestingly. But at the same time, I don't think adaptation should just stay at going from page to screen. I mean, if I was given the option in front of him and they said, Spielberg wants to get out, to be entirely honest, I don't really rate Steven Spielberg anymore. He doesn't really do it for me as a director. But Spielberg and all of his crazy Disney money wants a book, or this indie imprint wants to do a comic adaptation, I would license it to the comic book like that. I wouldn't even think about it. That would be very, very interesting to me. Which sort of leads me to the next wild dream, because I do love the idea of fan creations. I think I would die on the spot with sheer pride and giddiness if I ended up being in receipt of fan art of some of my characters. And again, this is the greatest book you'll never read. So you don't know who these characters are, and you'll never know who these characters are, but I do. Yes, if I was in receipt of fan art of these creations, who are very, very dear to my heart, even the absolute bastards in it, it does contain some of my favourite villains that I've ever come up with. But that would move me greatly. I like the idea of being a cult author. I like the idea of writing a book, or any number of books, because I'm not just writing this one, but we'll come to that in a moment. I like the idea of writing the sort of book where, in the future, students who are coming to university for the first time and don't really know one another, you can imagine this one student, and they'll hear another one make such a bizarre reference that happens to come from one of my books, that this person understands, and it becomes like an unspoken underground language. There'll be a very, very, very small backwater of geek culture that would be, well, I'm not that fussed about saying my full name on this, but What Now Books, and they understand it, and it becomes this little thing between them that's just theirs. It's not completely soaked into the atmosphere like Marvel or DC or Just Kidding Rowling. It's not soaked into the culture. It's a private and unique thing that joins certain people. A certain level of intimacy, I think, that you get with these cult books. It's a special feeling. No doubt you've experienced a version of it when you meet that one other person who knows what you're talking about. That amuses me. That really touches me. And by a similar token, I really do like the idea of these conventions, book tours, or just talks. They do a lot of them here in Liverpool. There's a big literary festival here where they just have like evenings with, and they'll have an interviewer and an author, and then they'll open it up to the audience. And I must say, because even though I am a very private and antisocial individual, I do sort of like the idea of 10, 20 years down the line, some young person who maybe is starting to study creative writing, much as I did, comes up to me and says, "Oh my God, you wrote The Dead Meat Sextet." And I can say, "Yeah, now fuck off." Or alternatively, I have this sort of private image, lonely creature that I am, of being in a cafe or a bar or sat on a train or something, and there's this very beautiful young lady. She's reading my book, and she looks over and sort of does a double take and considers the photograph on the back of it, and then she gets a moment, takes a breath, stands up, gathers her courage, comes over to me and says the 4 words that every gentleman writer wants to hear from a lady fan: "I want a refund." But specifically what I want more than anything is for publication to kick open doors that are otherwise barred to me. I am very, very limited. I am very seriously caged by various circumstances that do not bother you at all and are of absolutely no importance to your life. But to be traditionally published, to get that sort of thing, would punch through a certain number of barriers to me, because my imagination is tearing at the inside of my skull, and there's only so much that can be done. I'm working on 3 new novels at the same time. I've got one about the life of William Shakespeare. I've got a time travel black comedy, and I am now collaborating on a science fiction horror with the ever magnificent Dal Cecil Runo, who before long is going to realise what a terrible idea it's been to collaborate with me. But, you know, I want to break out of this. I want my cheap publication dream is to use it as a bomb to explode those barriers and go out. I have so many book ideas. I want desperately to make films. I've written treatments for two full-length motion pictures. One is about a sort of modern-day witch finders, and the other is based on the conspiracy theory about the supposed assassination of Pope John Paul I. I desperately want to write television. I want to be a showrunner. I want to take all of this crazed, delusional, psychotic energy and turn it into something vast and unctuous. What I want to be the showrunner for Doctor Who. I want to wrestle it away from Chris Chibnall. If I have to take it from his cold dead hands, I will. If anyone's interested in just what I would do with Doctor Who, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video about that. But because I am a dweeb, I am an utter nerd, I started working out how to adapt Half-Life, finally. Because we've been saying for years they'd do it, and J.J. Abrams doesn't seem all that interested in doing it, so I started sketching out how to do it, and I worked it out. It would be, the visual style would be pretty much, it would be akin to Chernobyl if we could get the artistic directors and the cinematographers that did Chernobyl to come and do it. Because you watch that first episode of Chernobyl and tell me that you can't do that for Black Mesa, and you're out of your goddamn mind if you think we can't. And you'd take all of it. You take the first game and the expansion packs that came with it. So you'd take Opposing Force and Blue Shift and Decay, and you'd create this sort of multi-point of view narrative, and you'd have to put in a new subplot, which would probably be like Eli escaping with his wife and little baby Alex. And this has got nothing to do with this conversation, does it? Mads Mikkelsen is the G-Man. There, that's all I'm saying about that further. But it's if you want to know in its truest form what Now's wildest publishing dreams are, just go to YouTube, open up the search bar, and look up the animals singing "We've Got to Get Out of This Place," because that's chiefly what it is. My publishing dreams are to use these projects and this work to open these doors that are otherwise closed to my mob, to my gang, as it were. But as you know, I am not one for blind optimism, and I am completely aware that none of this is ever going to work, none of it is ever going to happen, and I will die alone, befuddled and unfulfilled, and wouldn't it have been so much better if I'd just never even tried? Was there anything else? No, that's about it, actually. So, yeah, guess it wasn't all that wild anyway, was it? But nevertheless, it means that I do have something new for my channel while I get on with making these longer videos, which are getting longer by the day. So when you do finally see them, it will be a continuity nightmare about the length of my beard and the length of my hair, because I've been filming it entirely in the wrong order. Still, very important to build a platform, very important for people to see what you're doing, and this is what I'm doing. I'm writing books that no one will read. I am planning films that will never be shot. I am Schrodinger's author, as always asking the question, what now?